Hi, my name is Camille Walala. I'm a French designer based in London, and I work mostly with pattern on different scales. So I apply pattern on small scale on fashion or sometimes on like a massive building.
Hi, my name is Margrethe Odgaard. I'm a Danish textile and color designer, doing both commercial and artistic work, and always occupied with the color and how it thrives in the surface.
I was just really excited to have this opportunity to work on the building and just to kind of like pretty much do what I wanted. The condition was you have to work with the color palette of Margrethe. Sorry, I said that in French, but and so we got all of the samples, and I got really excited. It's like definitely some colors that I did feel straight away comfortable to use because some of them I think are quite similar to what I use also. But but some of them I was just a bit nervous. I was not used to mixing them together, and I think I just feel like when I saw your color palette, I thought, oh, maybe I'm just always a bit safe, you know. I always kind of like use a certain color, which I think like, oh, I don't feel like I take a risk because that's what I've been using and I like them. But yeah, to have this, it was quite challenging to work with your color palette, and actually all of a sudden I'm starting to buy some brown, even with the way I wear my clothes, I just feel like it just kind of opened a different way of seeing colors together. And at some point I was just asking, oh, please, can I just add an extra color or two, like to replace with some of them the rhubarb that you've got, which I love, but I don't know, I just wanted something a little bit paler. And because also normally when I work on the building, I think I use kind of really bright colors, but
it's interesting to hear what you're saying, because when I developed the palette, it was obvious to me that I had to be specific about the context, which was to be interior furnitures. So for me to see my interior palette translated into an enormous exterior building at this big scale, and pattern-wise, it's also explosive. I imagine, I haven't seen it. It's quite a change in the use of the color, and I imagine some of the colors will appear like strangers in nature because they were made for interior and for a more bold artistic palette. But I'm curious to see that.
I think it was not almost like you said, like you use the color for mostly interior, and I think for me I just would have pushed them a little bit brighter, you know, like the blue I would have done a bit blue, brighter, and I think the rhubarb color, which I really like, but I would have just like toned it, make it a little bit also brighter, and maybe almost replace this one for something a bit more peach, and because what I normally, it's not really a earthy color that I use normally, it's always quite pop, so it's like the same colors, but in a pop version almost, and so I was just curious.
What about when I see your work, there's quite a bit of like chrome sun yellow.
Yeah.
You weren't missing that color?
I think your yellow was, I never use this kind of like really pale yellow.
No, nor do I actually, well, I guess I use all colors. But
so I definitely will have, normally, I use always like this kind of like rich kind of yolk yellow, and I probably will have to see it at some point, but I'm really, I think it's quite exciting to almost push you out of your comfort zone, and I think thank you. Thank you for that, because I think I definitely learned these things along the way.
Yeah, but it's, when we created the color palette, it was also a curation. So it was a question about creating a palette that was enough, but not infinite, because it's a palette that we will elaborate on from year to year, like, add some and take some out. And it's like an organic palette in that way. So the curation, it was a question of, we deliberately did not include a chrome yellow or a bright yellow.
Understand.
But we'll see. There might be
in the future.
One in the future.
Yeah, and that is. And when I come in the showroom, it's so amazing to actually see all of the color of your color palette all together, and it's like it work in a perfect harmony. Where sometimes when I work with my color palette, I always use like 4 or 5. I don't really use too many, and I think it's quite like a brave to. I mean, obviously that's your job, but just like to bring all this color palette together and just to make them all work together, it's beautiful, especially in the indoor. People are a bit scared.
When I look at your work, it's one thing that immediately strikes me is that you don't usually use a lot of brown tones.
No, yeah.
And it's actually my favorite.
Yeah.
Like I love all colors. Obviously, I don't have any favorite colors, but still, like I have a special heart for brown nuances.
Yeah.
Because I think they are like the buffer between the colors. I call it the social colors.
Yeah,
they make all other colors shine. Like what you're wearing today, actually, it's like a.
But it's because of you, though. Actually,
yeah,
I found this trouser like in the vintage. Just show it to you. But I actually really like it. So yeah. I think it's interesting to push your work and just see how you feel, and the kind of use of brown with like purple now I love, or something I will never use before, and I'm just trying to gently introduce it to my work too.
I'm excited to see that actually. But for me you are like you will always, as a viewer, recognize your work as your particular work. So this is Camille Walala. And then for me, it's like I'm trying to be as absent as possible. So that's a big difference. I'm trying to exclude myself from the color and make them be their own. It actually took years to be able to do it, because in the beginning it was all the colors were so much from my preferences and my personal likes and dislikes. So I think it took a lot of training actually to sort of limit myself from the colors and constantly think of the context. And I think there's still a lot of evidence that I designed the colors and not someone else. But in case of Montana, what was interesting to me was also the history of Montana being created by Peter Lassen, who was close friend with Werner Panton, and asked him to do the Panton to do the colors, the first 6 colors I think it was, and they were like artist colors, bold artist pigments, and so that also gave the DNA to the color palette of Montana. So which makes Montana be very different from other brands, where they are looking at what's trendy, or like how do we fit into this region of the world, or Montana has like a core of being like artistic colors, and have this nerve that you also have as an artist. So to me it was an interesting assignment also to create the palette. Like how could I and now this is interesting for you probably, how could I at one hand keep up the DNA of Montana, creating colors with a strong hue and a lot of artistic expression, at the same time as I would help lifting the number for color sales, because all the color creates the attention, but sales show that 80% chooses gray tones or white or black. So, and that's so sad to me. So I'm constantly battling to sort of pull more people into the color. So part of my reason for how I curated was to also create the colored neutrals, is what I call them. How many colors did you use?
I think
the number?
Definitely more. I feel like I normally do. I think around 8 or 9
different colors,
plus black and white. Yeah, I think so. I think, and I was just taking some that I felt comfortable with, but maybe I should have pushed myself. And like when I use a really bright red, and maybe I should have gone a little bit like the tone that I can't remember which one it is, but. So I just came up with always a really similar color palette. It's just like sometimes, because a lot of my work is in outdoors, and especially like when it's gray weather, so I usually that's the reason why I've been using quite a lot of like very bright and vibrant color palette, because it's actually almost the building, like the first one I did in London, in sunny day it was great, but when it was gray, it just really like almost just become vibrant, and you really notice even more. So I just thought that's a good way to kind of bring some joy and color into some city, especially when it's gray. So I think that worked really well. But I've been asked to do work in like psychiatric hospital, and so like places like that. I've been trying to like obviously I don't know, just like they were asking, what is it? Is it some colors that I shouldn't use, or though they kind of like the restriction mostly was I don't really use too much black and white, so I didn't really use black and white, but also just work on softer yellow and softer reds.
But I'm just sitting here thinking also how interesting it is that you create the pattern, the scale, and the concept and everything, and then you sort of fill in all the colors from the Montana palette.
Yeah.
And imagine that the same structure that you created were handed over to me or our third part, and they would they would choose 8, 9 colors or black, white. It's interesting to think. You know, I call colors the emotional part of a structure. Yeah. Because it will change that tremendously how.
Yeah, I'd love to. Maybe I should send you the.
Yeah, you should send it to me, and that could be
interesting.
Definitely.